Can you swim in armor? Let's find out. Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to see how easy it is to swim in different types of armor. So we are at the lake and it's 6 degrees Celsius outside. So yeah, this is going to be nice. So the first thing we're going to try is just swim in normal clothes and shoes just to get a baseline and see how difficult that is compared to swimming without the clothes. Then we'll try to swim in gambeson, because apparently some people think that swimming in gambeson is hard because the gambeson gets heavy because of water.
If you get thrown into a river and you're wearing full plate mail, you can swim. If you're wearing...
I tried to tell this to Shad yesterday.
If you're wearing a gambeson, you sink.
We're going to find out. And then we're going to try to swim in mail armor. And finally we'll try things like helmets and shields. I am not going to be putting on lamella today because the lamella has a very high chance of rusting because of the water, because it has leather edgings and stuff like that that will trap water and make it rust. So let's get started with normal clothes. So, definitely harder with clothes on, but it still is perfectly possible. Now we're going to try with gambeson. It's very hard to put on armor when you have wet clothes under. Anyways, let's test gambeson. So that was extremely easy. Basically, when you jump out in the water, you're basically floating because of the gambeson, because it's filled up with air. Once it's filled up with water, it still is rather easy because water doesn't sink in water, it's basically frozen water. So not any hard at all to swim in gambeson.
If you're wearing a gambeson, you sink.
So basically, swimming with a gambeson on was very, very easy because you have a lot of air molecules trapped within the gambeson that basically make it act as a life preserver because the air wants to float above the surface of the water. Now, as you will see, I very quickly tipped over to my back, and that was actually to get the whole gambeson wet to test how hard it was to swim with a gambeson that was completely wet. But I think that you could pretty easily try to keep either on only your front or only your back and use the air trapped within the gambeson as a life preserver, preventing you from sinking at all because of the gambeson. So I actually also think that there is a lot of potential to use the gambeson to help you swim because of all the air that's trapped within it.
How heavy is it now, you think? The gambeson, I mean.
Very heavy, at least. That has to be 20 kilos. Now let's try male. Okay, let's go.
Okay, let's swim.
Well, that did not work. So of course, if you're better at swimming than me, it might work, but in any case, it is extremely hard to swim with May because the weight just drags you down and it's so hard to keep yourself up from the water. So swimming in male armor was extremely hard because I was basically just pulled down the whole way and had to swim crazy to keep myself up from the water. Of course, if you are better at me to swimming, you may be able to swim in male armor relatively easily, but it still is going to be very, very tiring with male armor on, and it's definitely harder than swimming with a gambeson on. Now let's try with both helmet and mail. So let's try not to drown. Well, that did not go well.
Det er jo supergutt. Du bare sank. Akkurat som i Reconquest.
Du bare sank med en gang.
Du må si det at reglene i Reconquest er 100%
Yeah. So, I've removed the male armor and we're going to try with only the helmet to see if you can swim with only a helmet on. Okay, let's go.
I would say it's like the equivalent of wearing only a medium armor, almost.
Huh?
It's like the equivalent of wearing medium armor, only a little bit easier.
Yeah. So that is possible. Way harder than swimming without helmet, but it still is possible. And I think it's partly because of the gambeson underneath the helmet that keeps the helmet up. Now we're going to try with a shield. Can I use a shield to help me swim? Let's find out. So you may be wondering, why am I using this shield here instead of one of the round shields I have? Well, that is simply because the round shields I have are covered with canvas, they have rawhide around them and stuff like that. And all of these things can get broken by water. Or maybe not get broken, but at least get degraded and look uglier because of water. This shield, on the other hand, does not have that, and therefore it has less chances of getting broken in any sort of way by water. So I would not say it helps, but it's not too bad either. I can't really use it to help me swim, because it's really awkward to hold it or something like that. And it's really awkward to swim with only one proper hand to swim with. You cannot use this to swim really. So it's really awkward, but it works. It isn't too much of a problem. You'll swim slower if you try to swim with a shield.
That's why you get abilities for joy adjustments in Reconquest when you try to swim with a shield.
Yeah.
Kids, you know, I have to stand here freezing cold while he's enjoying himself, you know.
And now let's try with everything.
Well, technically it's not everything because he's not wearing the gambeson.
So right now it seems like I'm able to swim even with all that heavy equipment on me, but I'm actually not. My feet are actually touching the ground, and I have to do that to even be able to keep up from the water. If I did not have my feet to help me, I would just sink straight down to the bottom. If the boat sinks and you have all the equipment on you, you're dead.
If you get thrown into a river and you're wearing full plate mail, you can swim.
So now I'm just going to try to put this gambeson into the water, see if it floats or if it sinks only on itself. It floats. It floats, even though it is extremely heavy because of the water. And this shows you that if you wear a gambeson, it's only going to help you swim. Only for the fact that since you get that big because of gambeson, all your movements are going to be restricted and therefore it's going to be harder. But the gambeson itself actually helps you float. Now I know that I will get questions about how long it takes for the gambeson to dry. The thing is that it is still completely wet, so I have no clue how long it takes for it to dry. But I will make a video about that in the future once they are dry, so stay tuned for that one. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one.